Here we go, episode 157 of The Hardline. Michael Merlo, John Michael Masiri, here with you. JM, this is, I'm going to say this. I didn't say this beforehand. This is one of the bigger episodes in a while.
It is.
There's a lot to do today. We are fresh off of Black Monday, which extended a couple of days with a couple of extra firings past the Monday. We have, the college football playoffs out tonight.
Yep.
We have the NFL playoffs starting this weekend. So much to get to. But before we get to that, JM, how are you today?
I'm doing good. We're kicking off first show of 2025 in a real good way here.
I forgot that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so Happy New Year to all.
Yep.
Mike, there's a lot of things we need to discuss. There's Black Monday did not disappoint at all. Draft talk is starting to creep up a little bit, once we get into later January. College football's come to an end here. We're seeing some of the guys on the biggest stage here with the college football playoff and seeing their stocks rise or fall. So it's a really interesting time. And I'm ready to roll, Mike.
I'll tell you what, before, a little spoiler, we're not going to do any college today, but I'll say this. Drew Aller plays well, which will be tonight or yesterday when you watch this, whenever this is. He'll be in the draft.
Yeah.
He plays well.
A lock, though.
He plays well. I think they're going to win, too. He plays well. They win. They're in the national championship. I think he's a lock to be in the top 3, and he'll enter the draft. We'll see.
Like you said, this isn't about the draft, but we are going to talk a lot about the draft now that obviously we're doing full-time football. And I think the quarterback class this year is going to be super interesting because it's lacking. It's not that great. And I think that we're going to see a lot of guys rise in the draft that we didn't really expect. And Jackson Dart and Drew Aller are two guys I'm keeping my eye on.
Can't wait for NFL draft talk, but we are a ways from that. We have the postseason to discuss and, of course, some coaching firings. We're going to start with the coaching firings. And before we get to that, I just want to say thanks for the support on social media from all of us in 2024. And we're excited for the upcoming season. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, rating us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I want to get us on Amazon. We're going to get on Amazon probably by the end of the week. Yeah, Amazon Music or Amazon Prime Music. Yes, it replaced Google. There's no more Google Play. So we're going to get on that as well. I guess so.
We're at that point now where Amazon's buying Google? Is everything going to be Amazon?
I guess it was just like the Google podcasts. Like, you know how there was like the Apple podcast and then there was Google?
Right.
Google's no longer a thing. We were never on there.
Yeah.
But
no, I thought we were in the early days.
Early days we were. Then we were off. And I never put us on there because it wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
And now Amazon's big. So we're going to get on Amazon.
It's a little scary with Amazon. This might be, the NSE Windows Studios presented by Amazon soon.
It could be.
That could be.
That could be a possibility. JM, let's start with the big firing, okay, which was Jerod Mayo, which was Sunday night, right after the game. And to me, I liked this move from the New England Patriots. And I think the Patriots had to make this move for one reason. Well, multiple reasons, but the main one being they are the number one job. And when you are the top job opening, you're going to have the top candidates wanting to fill that role.
Yeah.
And when you have guys like Vrabel and Ben Johnson that will say, hey, that's a job I could get and that's a job I want, you compare Mayo to those guys, even though Mayo wasn't given a fair chance, it's the right move.
Yeah, Robert Kraft admitted it himself that he wasn't given the fair chance, and the Patriots really disrupted his development, and it didn't go to plan. This entire plan was Jerod Mayo was going to get mentored by Bill Belichick those last couple years, and then this upcoming season, Belichick was going to hand over the keys to Mayo. Obviously, things didn't go as planned. The 2023 season for the Patriots was terrible. They started off 2-10, and it was just a disaster. And that relationship was getting really sour with Belichick, and it started to sound more and more like he was on his way out. So they pushed Mayo a year early, and he's kind of thrown into the fire. His development isn't completely there yet. He's not ready to be a head coach. And now we're here. And yeah, you're right. They didn't, he was never given the fair shot, and now there's more desirable candidates out there, which if you're the New England Patriots, how can you not do what they did?
It doesn't sound to me that Belichick was a fan of this whole Mayo thing because, the reports are Mayo was chosen years ago to be the replacement for Bill Belichick. He was the head coach in waiting for years. He never even called a defense. He was the linebacker coach, for crying out loud. And their relationship isn't great. I mean, you've heard Belichick talk about how he's not surprised how bad the season went. They've kind of taken jabs at each other.
Yeah.
Mayo talking about the roster that Belichick left him, and he just constantly taking jabs at the job Belichick did last year. So I also don't think that transition was great in terms of Belichick being, hey, kind of like a mentor.
There was no
towards Mayo.
mentorship.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, there was nothing. And, nobody's saying that Jerod Mayo, underperformed as a coach this year in terms of the team performance, because nobody was expecting New England. We were predicting New England to be picking in the draft right about where they are right now, in the top 3. That's where everybody was thinking New England was the year that they were going to have, and that's exactly what happened. The problem is with Mayo, the inexperience. The Patriots loved him as a player, but he's kind of that guy that kid that grows up in the same cushy town and has a really good parents and kind of just gets like everything handed to him, and then they're building him up to be, hey, you're going to go into the real world now, and then the parents say, you know what, we're cutting this off early, you're on your own. And he's like, what? Because that's exactly what happened to him. Belichick was supposed to mentor him. This was a player who only played for the Patriots and then only coached for the Patriots, and that circle of coaches that were around Bill Belichick kind of went away from New England, talking about the Josh McDaniels and the Bill O'Briens and guys like that weren't there anymore. And now Mayo's like, hey, I'm here by myself. What the hell is going on? The training wheels are off. All of a sudden, I'm the coach of the Patriots, and things went sour.
How about this? So there's multiple reasons why I think Mayo got fired. I don't think he handled his team very well, the media very well. We had multiple instances where he blamed his players for things. Like, you're the head coach, you're the face. You got to take those shots. But how about this? According to The Athletic, after an uncompetitive loss in Arizona, Mayo surprised Patriots executives and coaches when he opted to play cards with the players on the plane ride back rather than watch film with assistants. And a staff member said, I can't say I've ever seen that before.
Right. Yeah, I also read that report. The coaches were like, what the hell, we're supposed to be studying film. And obviously that's one of the things, and they mentioned it in the article, that if you're 14 and if you have 12, 13, 14 wins, you're riding high, you do that, it's like, oh, wow, look at this coach going to, make a connection with his players, how cool. But obviously, winning is the greatest cure out there. They weren't winning. They were losing really bad. And then losing amplifies everything. So a move like that, it sends the wrong message to the players, to the coaches especially. And that's kind of the vibe that came along from the Patriots organization. Was a lot of these coaches felt that he was like way too 180 from Belichick. Like he almost was doing it purposely, where he's like, it's a new era here. He probably felt the stink from Belichick's last year, because apparently Belichick was very, as they went on in the year, he got more secluded, and his circle got tight, smaller and smaller, and he wasn't talking to a lot of the coaches, and he kind of gave up on the season. I'm sure he was trying to get rid of the Belichick stink, and he went a little too crazy with it.
And the possible candidates, obviously the favorite is Mike Vrabel. He'll interview Thursday with the Patriots, and some people think like it's just going to get done and that'll be it. I actually don't think that's the case. I think Kraft, who hasn't had a real job search in almost 30 years, I think he'll actually want to interview a few people. So I don't think this gets done right away. It could. Vrabel could walk in the building. They have a price set already, and that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Vrabel, but I think they'll interview people, and I think we'll have more time to talk about the potential head coach for these teams and the Patriots as we go forward into the next week.
I mean, if I had money on it, I would say that it would be Vrabel, but you're right. I think they're still going to go through the process. It's a very desirable destination. You have a young quarterback, and obviously, although the last couple years haven't been great, it's still a prestigious organization with tons of history and success, recent success, not too far away success. So I think Vrabel will end up being the guy, but I think they're still going to take their time with it.
Also, I'd be pretty scared of that.
Yeah.
This has a feel of, I don't want to say like it's not obviously not going to be Belichick Brady, but it kind of has that feel of like the big head coach, and they have the quarterback there now already.
I'm not going to think in that world of hysterics anymore, because the same thing happened when Brady went down and Garoppolo stepped up. I was like, oh my God, we're getting another Tom Brady 2.0 here. And
well, you might have if he didn't get traded.
I thought that with Mac Jones for his rookie season. I'm like, is this going to turn out to be bad? Like,
yeah,
I've seen it before. It totally could happen. The Patriots, they obviously know what they're doing, but I'm not gonna. I like the idea. It's fun to think. I personally don't like it.
Yeah.
But as a football fan, it's a fun idea.
I'm thinking it. JM, the Raiders, they move ahead and they fire Antonio Pierce, and they did it a day late after Black Monday. Do we deserve some credit for that? I don't really know. I think the Raiders were listening to this show and talked about, listened to how much we talked about not liking him.
I think they did. They did. I think, did we get a call from
Tom
Tom
Telesco?
Brady?
Tom Telesco called us, the GM.
Oh,
he did.
Telesco. I spoke to Tom Brady, but we shared.
My bad. Yeah, this was kind of shocking because they let him do a press conference after the season. I think he did 2. And
Just what you want to do.
Kind of seemed like he was back. He thought he was back, and Davis makes the move and fires him. I think it's the right move. Yeah. I just don't think this isn't a desirable place. They don't have a quarterback. God, no. They have a couple of high-end players. Sure, Bowers is a high-end player. Crosby's obviously a high-end player. But I think even with Crosby,
he's on his way out soon.
The discussion's going to be, are you going to trade him for a ton of picks?
Yeah.
You don't have a great draft pick in terms of being able to take a quarterback. You're not ready for a quarterback if you wanted to sign one, not close. It's just it's one of those jobs, man, kind of like the Saints. It's you really want to accept this job?
Right. The future looks a lot more bleak compared to some of the other potential jobs that are out there right now. I mean, the Raiders have been dangling the idea of drafting a quarterback for a couple of years now, going back to the Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young draft, and then, the signings of Jimmy Garoppolo and Gardner Minshew, and drafting Aiden O'Connell as a later round pick and mixing him in there. They've just been they're in love with this mediocre QB play, and they love having quarterback competitions in camp, and oh my god.
Did you hear what he said? I regret not going to AOC earlier. He's our
you
guy.
Call him AOC. That's great.
AOC,
is that a thing?
I've seen it. I've seen it abbreviated on Twitter as AOC. Yeah. Should I not call him AOC?
No, I thought you were talking about, the senator. Yeah.
She's a senator?
Senator, Congress, Jesus one or the other. I don't know. We're not a politics show.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
We would not survive that. But yeah, so you're right. There's not much here.
But this has been I don't know about everybody else out there, and I'm a Jets fan. Give me all the crap you want, but the Raiders organization has just had this stink around them for a lot of years now. We're at that point ever since the Mike Mayock, Gruden days, and they were on Hard Knocks with Antonio Brown and the whole ever since that season. When I think of the Raiders, I throw up in my mouth a little bit.
The best they were was with Gruden, though.
Yeah,
they should call Gruden and hire him again.
They should. That the season when they could have tied.
Yeah,
when they had Bisaccia after they fired Gruden in the middle of the season with the emails and all that crap.
That
was the last time they were good.
They should call Gruden, honestly. They're already paying him $10 million a year.
Yeah, really.
It was a $100 million contract.
Just say, hey, you want to hop right back on board?
Seriously, it's...
But with Pierce, why... I can't believe there are people out there that are defending Pierce. I understand if the Raiders aren't the most, structured organization out there. I totally agree with that. But this was a flash in the pan. He got, he replaced, please help me out. Who did he replace when?
McDaniels.
Thank you. Josh McDaniels, who was another freaking disaster.
Right.
He replaces McDaniels in the middle of the season and, talks all this rah-rah, we're going to bring the old school Raiders back and everything. And they go on this 5-4 run, and we think, oh, the Raiders found their guy. They're bringing back old school football. Now he has an offseason to hire his own staff, which, by the way, they had 32 coaches, which is one of the biggest in the NFL, which was not good for them. Hiring these coaches and making decisions and doing game management. By the way, he doesn't even call offensive or defensive plays.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's making an impact on the game in that way. Mike, he had an opportunity last offseason to hire an offensive coordinator. And he went after Cliff Kingsbury.
They tried to get him.
Who then decided, what the hell am I thinking? Why don't I just go to Washington for the same job for one more year that has a better situation?
Yeah.
And then Chip Kelly is a potential opportunity. And he ends up going to Ohio State for their offensive coordinator job. And they get Luke Getsy, who was the OC of the Bears, who are another familiar friend of ours that we love to rip apart in the Justin Fields era.
Yep.
Bears fans were buying his plane ticket to get the hell out of town. He goes to the Raiders, and he coaches 9 games.
This is why. So I get what you're saying. I understand, and I agree with the decision.
Yes.
But I also think he was kind of put in an impossible situation. He doesn't have a quarterback. They weren't able to seal the deal with Cliff Kingsbury. They didn't have a high enough draft pick last season to get a guy. I saw this. Like, he wanted Daniels, and, he wanted to bring in Cliff Kingsbury. This would have been the pairing. Like, okay, yeah. And the Giants like May and Daniels, and this team like this guy. And, like, they didn't get him. Right. They're not on your team. So I don't really necessarily care who you liked.
Yeah.
So I just think a lot of it was out of his control.
Sure.
I do believe they played hard for him. I think that part of it was true even till the end. But it's not enough. It's not enough to keep a guy.
At a certain point, like, there were this isn't even rumors. This is just factual. His game management was not good.
No, it wasn't.
He didn't call, like I said, he didn't call offensive or defensive side of the ball. So, game management is something where you could really step up in because that's all you got to really worry about in terms of game day.
Has he ever called defense?
I don't
I'm
think
not
he's
sure.
been a
defensive coordinator.
He doesn't have a lot of coaching experience. He's only got 2 years of coaching experience in the NFL before he was given the coaching job, and only like 10 years of coaching total. And, once you start reading articles and you hear things about players reporting lack of execution and lack of attention to detail in practices and stuff like that, all right, maybe the job's not for him.
Listen, let him go be an assistant somewhere. Go the Brian Flores route, right? Flores was a defensive assistant with the Steelers. Then he became the DC with the Vikings. Now he's going to get another job, most likely. So
I do agree with you, though, about yes, he was not put in a good situation. There's no doubt. But and I know you agree with me, while that is true, he's still not a good head coach.
Agreed.
He still is not the guy that should be coaching the Raiders.
No, listen, I mean, I see Giant fans clamoring. I mean, he was a big part of that 2007 Super Bowl team, and they're like, bring him in as DC. I'm like, no, there's a couple other guys I'd rather have as DC that are available right now. I'd rather Matt Eberflus as the DC.
Yeah.
Be honest with you.
What's funny, though? Like, fans say that, like, what do they possibly know about Antonio Pierce's, like, defensive scheming that they want him to be the DC?
Nothing.
They literally know nothing.
Nothing. The most obvious firing, that was the Jaguars and Doug Pederson. It was a mess of a season, right? And Lawrence was hurt. But I think the biggest issue was over the last 2 years here was Lawrence never really took that next step that we thought he was going to take after the 22 season.
Yeah.
And now we're here. The biggest shock to me, I think, maybe of the entire offseason is that Bulky didn't get fired. I mean, the fact that they did not fire the GM here along with Pederson, and you have the owner actually saying in a press conference when the GM is right next to you, and he says, yeah, I know not firing the GM is going to hold some candidates back. Like, are you kidding me? That's a problem.
That Khan has been one of those owners for a while now, where it's like, when you know the owner of a team, it's usually not a good thing.
Five horse owners, easy. Woody, Haslam,
Jerry Jones. At this point, I think Jerry Jones.
Hold on.
Doesn't shut up and he brings all this crap to the team.
Let me see if I can get 5.
Mara?
Haslam, Woody.
Mara?
No, I wasn't going to say Mara. I was going to say, who's the guy I'm thinking of? Haslam, Woody, Tepper, Khan. And there's one more I'm blanking on.
What
Maybe
team?
Davis. He's pretty bad, too.
He is pretty bad.
He's pretty bad. Yeah. I mean, Woody's going off of Madden ranking stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that is true, yes.
And the Sun's running the team, so that's a problem.
Hear him out. Just hear him out.
You think?
Yeah.
You know who's bad, too? On that level, of the Woody level, the Miami owner is pretty bad, too.
He is. Spanos?
No, that's the Charger owner. I'm blanking on the name of him. I actually know his face, and I know he went to Michigan.
Look at you knowing his background.
The Dolphin owner, but I don't know anything else. Why do I know he went to Michigan? Oh, because they were one of the teams possibly to try and lure Harbaugh when they were hiring McDaniel. Either way, we're really off the track here.
We are.
Khan's a terrible owner. I still think this is a good Ben Johnson spot, to be honest with you.
I think it's one of the most I think behind the Patriots job, I think it's the next most attractive job. Cuz this is a team that, like, listen. I'll admit when I was wrong. I had this team win the division, okay?
Here we go.
And there's still attractive pieces on this roster, and you could see it being a quick turn. Lawrence wasn't playing good football this year, and who knows what he is at this point, but the potential is still there. Like, I don't view Lawrence as you got to come in and pick all these damaged pieces up. Like, he could be a little tweak, and he could be a quick flip, I think. And they still have, Brian Thomas Jr. just had a very promising rookie season. Travon Walker has quietly become a very solid draft pick and multiple, back-to-back double-digit sack seasons here. They still have Josh Hines-Allen, who's under contract for a couple years, and he's still 27 years old. Bigsby and ETN, who knows what, Bigsby looks like he's trending up. ETN looks like he's trending down. You got a backfield. So you got some attractive pieces there, and you have the 5th overall pick.
It's a good spot, Mike. It's definitely a good spot. You're in the worst division in football, or the second worst division in football.
Thank you for bringing that up.
There's not much pressure. A guy like Ben Johnson going to a big city like Chicago would scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But Ben Johnson going to Jacksonville and getting to work with Trevor Lawrence and rehabilitate his career a little bit here in the sunshine. Again, no pressure, bad division. And by the way, they could pay him a crap ton of money. There's no state tax there. Bang. Income tax, excuse me.
They're middle of the road in cap space. They're about like 17th, I think, in the NFL in projected cap space this offseason, so they still have a little room to spend some money. But thank you for bringing up the thing with their division, because I'm reading the playoff schedule and doing some research on the playoff games before. And, 4:30 Saturday, it's Texans-Chargers. And I'm like, how many freaking Texans games have been that Saturday 4:30 slot? It always seems to be that way. And then I was thinking, like, well, what? Let me think of the other AFC South teams and how they've been. That division for so long has just been so mid. Like, there hasn't been one team that has come out of that division over the last decade plus that's been like, oof.
Yeah.
Maybe the Titans in, the height of the Vrabel and the Tannehill and
they never
Henry
went to a
days.
Super Bowl.
And then everyone went to the Super Bowl. When was the last time a team out of that division went to the Super Bowl? The Colts?
Probably the Colts.
Titans haven't been. Jaguars haven't been.
Wow. The Texans haven't been. That's a good point, Mike.
The Colts.
It's a great point. I mean, the other bad division is obviously the NFC South, but you've had the Bucs, who have been dominant the last few years. You had
Panthers
those
went to a Super Bowl. Saints.
You have those Atlanta teams. Yeah, it's easily the worst division in football as a whole. But yeah, I think that's a great Johnson spot. But we'll see what happens. And you're right. It's a quick fix. You know what? I had the Bears as my second best job. I'm going to flip it. That's the second. You're right. That's the second best job.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing. I had the Bears there, and then I switched it after doing a little more. I was like, the Bears it's just the pressure. The Bears has more pressure, and it's also, I know the Jaguars aren't some prestigious organization either, but that Bears organization is just starting to feel like it's cursed.
It's cursed. You know what's cursed? The Giants are cursed. You want to talk about the Giants quick, not firing anybody?
Yes.
I was okay with it because it couldn't have been one or the other. And we had spoke, leading up to that last game in Philly, which I was at, which was just remarkable in Philadelphia. The problem I have is Mara's comments Monday morning, which was, I've run out of patience. Like, yeah, we've all run out of patience, John, and I'm sure you have, and I believe you. But when the Giants lose 11 or 12 games next year, because the schedule is really, really difficult, and maybe there obviously would be an improvement if they lost 11 games, but like, are you just gonna fire them? Like, if you could watch the Giants next year and say, oh, that was a competitive 6-7 win team, right? Are you gonna fire them after that season?
No. I mean, why would you? Because the way I view this offseason for them is like, okay, if you had the opportunity to fire them and you didn't, it's basically like hiring them. You're like, all right, so I'm buying in still to the future with these guys.
And he's not.
And he's not.
He's not. That's my problem.
Because
fire them then.
That's why I told you when we were talking earlier in the week on Black Monday and the press conferences were going on, I'm like, why the hell is John Mara saying all this crap? That he's impatient, this and that, because, he's trying to send a message to the fans. But what he's actually doing, the fans are saying, no bleep, John. Like, so are we. We're tired of this crap. But they're not like, oh, hell yeah, Mara's fired up about it. Yeah. If anything, you're just creating more drama because you're like, well, now there's more pressure on the coach, and now I got to worry about next season what you're talking about. If we don't, nobody's expecting the Giants next year. They could do a bunch of things this offseason. Nobody's expecting them to go out and be a playoff team next year.
No.
So if you're in the New York market, a 6-7 win team like you're saying, yeah, I mean, they're going to be on the chopping block again.
And it's an improvement.
It is.
And it would be. And if they draft a young quarterback and maybe he plays half the season and he looks good, you're gonna fire the like. That's my thing.
So this Giant, It's such a tricky situation the Giants have been for so long. Every offseason just feels uncomfortable. It feels like the pieces are never falling at the right time in the right places. Like,
I don't think they're as far off as people think.
No, maybe not in terms of their roster, but hear me out on this. So you know that I was a fan of keeping Daboll. Like I won't say I was a fan, but I was okay with it.
You thought they should have.
I thought that in a perfect world they should keep him and they should let go of Shane. It's very hard to do that. So overall, I still do think I would have fired the both of them because I'm just not a Shane guy. Like you look at his last couple of drafts, 2022 was bad. 2023 was like horrendous.
Yep.
I mean, that was awful. And then this past year, it's still up in the air. Neighbors was obviously, he's going to be right up there in the Rookie of the Year voting. He's been great. That's your number one alpha guy.
I have to look at it. I think every player contributed in a positive way this year. I think that's what saved them. That's what saved them.
Right. Look, Newbin, it's still a little up in the air on him. He's still growing. He's had some ups and downs. Phillips was kind of your mid-round hit. He was really good. Third rounder. He was a really good corner for you guys. And then Tyrone Tracy. My opinion, you might come at me for this. Not a great player. I think he just was a subject of volume and being
solid player.
Somebody's got to touch the ball.
He could be. I think he could be.
He could be
like,
a change of pace back. I
think he could be. I think he could be your.
I don't think. I think he could be your third down running back.
Ideally, I'm always a 2-back guy.
Yeah.
I think he could be the first guy. You get somebody else, bring somebody else in.
But we could sit here and argue about Tyrone Tracy all day long.
I don't want to.
So hear me out. You know how many I say like every time we talk about the Giants, the Saquon Barkley pick and pushing everything back a year and then reaching for Daniel Jones and that domino effect and everything, and it's still happening because 2022 Jones has that great year. Mara decides to fire Gettleman and keep Daboll. So Shane then comes along where
Shane hired Daboll.
Thank you. Wait, what?
Shane hired Daboll. Same year. They hired Shane.
Okay.
And then a week later they hired Daboll.
Yes. So then Daniel Jones has this great year, and then they give him the extension because Shane's kind of in an uncomfortable spot here. He's like, well, I've been here for a year, and this guy's was entering his contract year, had a good season. Giants make the playoffs. Fans would hate me if I don't re-sign this guy. Sign him to a long-term deal. So they commit to Jones. Things start going downhill. Now, the position he's in, he's like, all right, well, now I got to go get a quarterback. What are the options here? Because, unfortunately, it's a bad quarterback class yet again, like it was when they drafted Daniel Jones, and yet again, of maybe the one or two quarterback prospects that could be good out of this class, they're not going to have an opportunity to draft one of those guys. Like the same thing with Kyler Murray in 2018 or 2019. So you're kind of back in the same position.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how they get this done.
They got to get creative. I really do think they should be on the phone asking about J.J. McCarthy.
I think so,
if they like him.
I think if Aller enters the draft, Giant fans have to be watching that game. I mean, watch the kid. I mean, go back and watch the Boise State game. Like, he's impressive. Yeah. And I wouldn't let him touch the field for a year because he's a very raw prospect. But go watch him. He's exciting. He's fun.
You also got to remember, like, Daboll has a good system. We've seen Daboll's system, like, when it's working well.
With mid-quarterbacks.
With mid-quarterbacks, exactly. If he's got a quarterback prospect out there and we think he's the quarterback, I won't say whisperer, but he could be a quarterback whisperer like we think his potential is, why not go get a quarterback who maybe isn't number 1 or 2 on other people's boards, but you're like, that guy is perfectly crafted. He would fit well in our system. He can make that work.
Josh Allen. The Josh Allen guy. Like, hey, he might not be number 1, but we're going to trade up and go get him because look at the body type. Look at the physical traits.
But we do it every draft season. We talk about the top guys in the draft, and then you look around at the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and like most of them are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th quarterbacks taken in their draft.
I think you're right about Dart, too. You said it earlier. I think Dart's going to rise up as well here. Very quickly before we get out of here, I think we're about the coaches. I think we're going to be able to talk about this more so, but the jobs we didn't get to talk about, we've been talking about the Jets, obviously, and the Bears, who they're going to hire for so long. I don't really care about the Saints. For those two in particular, who do you see as the favorites? Like, who would you say you're going to get here if you're the Jets, if you're the Bears?
It's obviously so tough to tell, but Bears, I went Ben Johnson.
Okay.
I think, I know it's a tough situation for him to walk into in terms of the pressure and the attention he's going to get for that. But I think he believes in himself, and I'm sure in the back of his mind he knows he's a really smart guy, and he's like, I could turn this guy Caleb Williams into a freaking Hall of Famer, and be the savior of the franchise and all this stuff. So I got him going to the Bears. Saints, I actually have Joe Brady going to.
Interesting.
And
okay.
I flip-flopped him and the guy I think the Jets are going to hire. Jets, I'm saying Aaron Glenn is going to go to the Jets.
Okay. I love if Aaron Glenn was a Jet. I think the Jets are going to end up with one of the two defensive guys, of Flores or Glenn.
I don't see them getting a Joe Brady or an offensive guy like that. And I don't think that's what they need right now.
There are some teams, and I might feel this way about the Giants in a year from now, because I think they are one of those teams. I think the Patriots are one of these teams as well.
Yeah.
With the Jets, there are some teams that just need that gritty, tough coach.
Yep.
Play defense, offensive line, defensive line, beat the hell out of you.
Yep.
I think the Jets are one of those teams right now.
Are.
I think the Giants could be in a year. The Bears, I think, could be that team as well.
The Jets need a freaking drill sergeant.
Yep.
Is what they need.
That's what I think the Bears need. I think the Bears need a drill sergeant.
Which is why
like
I think Flores might get a job with one or the other.
I don't know. You know what would be interesting? If Glenn got the Bear job.
Yeah, that would be out of left field.
The problem is with the defensive coaches in that specific scenario with Caleb. You don't want, like, let's say he brings in one of the assistants, right? The quarterback's coach or the quarterback coach with the Lions, right? And he's going to call plays and be Glenn's offensive coordinator, right? The problem is in 2 years, if they fix Caleb and they're really good, the problem is now he's going to get a head coaching job. And that's why I can't stand hiring these defensive coaches sometimes when you have a young quarterback like that.
Yeah, but I think we read too much into it. I mean, you look around the league at the best coaches in the league, it's a mixed bag. Like you got your Shanahans of the world and your Andy Reids of the world that are like your offensive guys, and then you run into Mike Tomlin and you run into the Harbaughs, and it's either one works.
I think Glenn,
as long as you're a good coach, you're a good coach.
I think Glenn is the safest. I think Glenn is going to be a phenomenal head coach.
I agree a lot.
Phenomenal head coach, just leader. Good defense. We know he's a good defensive coordinator with the
he's
job he's done this year.
Right. He's got the whole thing. He's a play. He's played in the league for a long time. He knows what it's like to be a player.
He's going to be a home run.
Yep.
Home run. And I'm not a defensive coach guy. You just heard it.
Yep.
He's going to be a home run. All right, JM, we've done way too much. We said we got to limit this to 20 minutes. We actually went 32 minutes. So this is going to be a long episode. So bear with us. We are about to talk about the NFL. But did I have one more thing I wanted to say? Did I have one more thing?
Can we just run really quick through how we ranked every spot?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, most desirable, we said it before. I have Patriots 1, Jaguars 2nd, Bears 3rd, Jets 4th, Saints 5th, Raiders last.
The only change I did make the Jags-Bears switch. You convinced me on it. The only change I had Jets 4, I had the Saints 6, and the Raiders 5. I'm not a fan of that Saints job at all. I don't think there's anything good about the
Saints worse than the Raiders.
I don't think there's anything good about the Saints job.
Okay.
Nothing.
I just did Raiders last compared to Saints just because of organizational stink.
I think Vegas, it could be a desirable place.
It's a desirable place. If
they
build the end of the tunnel is bright if you could get there.
Right. I think Vrabel will be we both agree Vrabel will be a Patriot. I had the Jags getting Johnson. And that's the change we had there. So it'll be interesting.
Because I had Johnson going to
the Bears.
Leftwich? Little history there, player.
Yeah, he did play. Yeah, I could see it. I don't know where Flores is going. You see that thing with Fitz and Flores, Fitzpatrick?
I don't know.
I don't want to read too much into it.
Stuff comes out all the time now with Flores and.
The one thing I'll say, nobody watched the end of the clip. Everybody just read the headline, oh, he burnt his bridges.
Right.
Nobody listened to Fitzpatrick say at the end, I think him working with Tomlin for a couple of years and KOC for a couple of years, did that again, Kevin O'Connell.
KOC,
Kevin O'Connell. That helped him because there are players, coaches, and those guys know how to collaborate with others, and that helped them. So I think Flores is going to be fine. I think Flores will succeed next job he gets. All right, JM, the playoffs. We're going to go through each game in chronological order, the way they're going to be played, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday nighter. And we're just going to talk about them, and we're going to make our predictions at the end. We're going to go through the entire bracket very quickly at the end. We'll give you a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl champion. So we'll start here with the 4:30 game. You mentioned it before. The AFC South always plays in this game. It's the Chargers and the Texans. I'll say this. A win here for the Texans could get rid of the stink of the entire season. You win one playoff game, and you've won 2 playoff games in 2 consecutive years with a young quarterback and a young coach. It could get rid of the stink of what has been a down season for their expectations.
Sure. I think the outlook going into next year could be much brighter if you get a playoff win here. That being said, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I
agree with
I'm jumping a little early here, but my bold prediction of the weekend is this game's going to be a blowout.
Wow, okay.
Chargers are going to railroad these guys.
Okay, interesting. You know what's funny? I think a lot of people think the Chargers are going to win.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the I'm a big Harbaugh, Herbert, Charger guy. I love the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to give the Chiefs a hard time next week if that's the match. I think they're going to give them a really difficult time. But I think so many people loving the Chargers is like scaring me a little bit. I think the game might be a little closer now. It's like, all right, maybe it's 23-20 the Chargers win instead of, the 2 touchdown game I think it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, people. The more people on it, the more scary it gets.
You think the Chargers can go on a run? Is this team possible? Because again, I just said this defense. They have the coach. They have the quarterback. Like if I was going to pick a team to upset the top 3 in the AFC, I mean, this is the team I would pick.
Yeah.
And with that kind of defense, they would scare the hell out of me if I'm the Chiefs.
Yes, I 100% agree, and I would also pick them outside of the top 3 to be the team that has the best chance to go on a run. That being said, if they weren't tasked with going to Arrowhead in the divisional round, maybe I would say so, but I think that, but if they ran into them in the AFC Championship, I could say maybe they could make a championship game run and knock off one of the Ravens or the Bills, because I think they might just match up better with them. But with Kansas City, I mean, they kind of seem to have their number.
Division game, late in the year, cold.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could be interesting. Is this game important for Herbert, have to win? I feel like there's really no pressure on the Chargers right now.
I don't think so. I think because it's just so – people know what Herbert had to deal with, especially now the massive turnaround they've made. I think people are giving Herbert a little bit of a pass for what's gone on previously with the Staley era, just seeing how bad Staley was. Now that Harbaugh comes in and they up their win total by 8 or whatever it was, 7, whatever
Worst
the hell
defense, the number 1 defense.
Yeah. They won, right? What they win? 10 games, 11 games this year? 11, I think. They went from 5-12 to 11-6. That's a pretty good turnaround. Yeah. They have the number 1 defense in the NFL. So there's a little bit of pressure, of course, with Herbert because, he needs to. For a while, we were talking about, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Like, that was a thing. Lamar Jackson. Yeah. Like, now he's phased out of that conversation. But if he wants to end up going back in there and being an MVP pick for people in the preseason next year, yeah.
I think he will be. I think regardless, this is a big game, obviously. They should win this game.
Yes.
Regardless, I think he's in that conversation next year.
They are going to run all over this thing.
That's crazy. All right. You think it's going to be a blowout?
They're going to run all over them. If the Texans try to take away the run, then Herbert's going to run all over them through the pass because he's shown that he could use his legs a lot this year. Mike, I don't have a good feeling about this game for the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
And that offense for the Texans, I mean, they've looked really bad for a lot of good portion of the year, but especially recently. And
since week 13, they beat the Jags 23-20.
Yikes.
Then they beat the Dolphins 20-12, barely hung on there. They lost to the Chiefs. They scored 19 points. They didn't score any points offensively against the Ravens. They lost 31-2, and then obviously last week with the backups and the Titans. So it's been bad. Yeah. But the week prior to the Jaguar game, they lost to the Titans at home. Yeah. So it sounds
really
a
lot like they roll over when they play good teams.
Sounds like it. Yeah, this could be bad. JM, this game, I don't want to say it because the Steelers, I don't want to watch the Steelers. I literally don't want to watch the Steelers. But I got a funny feeling this is going to be a tight game late in the fourth quarter. And there is no reason to say that based on the way the Steelers have played. They've been terrible. This team does not deserve any credit for the last couple of weeks here. They've been awful. But Mike Tomlin has Lamar's number. They've beaten the Ravens here. I think this is the last team the Ravens wanted to see in the first round of the playoffs. I would say this is a tight game. They're going to cover the number. This is a tight game here.
What is the number?
9.5.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay,
disrespect
sure.
from Vegas.
Disrespectful line. It's a playoff game amongst, two of the biggest rivals in the NFL. Yeah, this is definitely, I could definitely see this being a close game. There's going to be a lot of juice on both sides. I'd still feel pretty safe with taking the Ravens here, considering the way the Steelers have looked as of late. I mean, they've been playing their worst football of the year. That's not how you want to enter the playoffs, and they are on the road. You're right. Lamar, Tomlin has had his number over the years. He had his number in their first matchup in Pittsburgh. Luckily for Lamar, this game's in Baltimore. So I think that does make a difference for him. Pittsburgh's a tough environment to play in. So is Baltimore. Baltimore's the home team here. That plays in his favor. I could see it being a close game because of the division and everything, but I'm still gonna lean on the Ravens here.
4 straight losses for five straight losses.
And I'd also like to think that, there's been a lot of playoff narratives about this Ravens team and about Lamar, but this feels about as special of a Ravens team and last year felt special, but on the offensive side of the ball specifically, this feels about as special as that 2018 team, if not more special, because they didn't have Derrick Henry when Lamar won his first MVP, 2019, when Lamar won his first MVP. I got a good feeling about this Ravens team.
5 straight playoff losses for the Steelers. The last 2 have been blowouts.
Yeah.
The last 4 have been really bad.
I heard you and Kevin talking about this on
Monday,
your recap show. We make the joke every year with Mike Tomlin that he's just like, oh yeah, they're gonna go 9-8, they're gonna go 10-7, whatever, 8-9. Like they just love being mediocre ever since Big Ben was in his last couple years there, and. At a certain point, you got to be like, all right, Tomlin, like, are you going to get over the hump? Like, is this guy, are his feet going to get held to the fire a little bit?
Stole my next point.
Sorry. But can we give the guy a chance to, like, get a quarterback? Like a legitimately, like, I think one of you said it. You said, hey, Mike Tomlin said to the ownership and the GM say to Mike Tomlin, how many draft picks do we need to give up to go and into the top of the draft and get you a quarterback? Because that's what I would be saying if I was Mike Tomlin.
The thing is, it's been bad. It's been mediocre, and it's been bad in the postseason. You get blown out here, division game. You don't think there's some conversation happening?
No.
You don't think there's any conversation whatsoever?
None.
All right.
For them, it's fun to think about creating a dramatic situation here, but like, you're in the NFL. This isn't a non-salary cap league like baseball where you're the New York Yankees. You can just have winning season after winning season because you could just spend money and put together a good roster every year. That's not how it works. So for Tomlin to be putting competitive teams like that out for so long, so consistently after your franchise quarterback of 15 plus years retired, I think he deserves a shot to keep his job for a long time until he gets another run at a young quarterback.
And by the
Kenny
way,
Pickett, that's the best we could do.
You said before, talking about the Ravens and Lamar, last year was their best chance. I'll never trust this team in the postseason again.
Yeah.
I think it's a loss in the next round, but they'll win this game. I think it's tight. I just don't trust them. And we've seen it before with star athletes in any sport. It's just the postseason's tough, and like the difference is, and I want to ask this question because we're about to talk about the Bills, and this is where I'm going to leave you. Who has more pressure, Ravens or Bills? And the reason why it's the Ravens and Lamar compared to Allen and the Bills, it's because Allen has performed in the postseason. He has good performances. A couple of bad ones, of course, but there's been more good than bad performances in the postseason from Allen, where it wasn't his fault they lost games. With Lamar, you scored 10 points at home as the 1 seed against the Chiefs last year. I mean, that's on you. That dud against the Titans that year, you had the home field advantage on that Saturday night. That's on you.
That's a really tough question.
A really tough question.
They both have a lot of pressure on them. Quarterbacks, teams, whatever. They have a lot of pressure on them.
I think the answer could be different. I think quarterback could be Lamar. Team, it could be Bills.
I was maybe going to say the opposite.
No, I don't think so. There's definitely more pressure on Lamar. Allen has succeeded.
Okay, for Lamar to perform better in the postseason, sure. But to win, I don't know. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand, but then again, they don't because Allen has performed well in the postseason and he still hasn't been able to win. So we're talking about what, just them to get to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl, make it out of the AFC, whatever.
Please, we won't even win the Super Bowl. Just get there.
So if Bills in Kansas City versus Ravens in Kansas City, to win that game, I don't know.
I'd take Buffalo.
How does Buffalo not get more pressure then? Because that's been a familiar matchup. You're going to be talking about the overtime game from years ago with Gabe Davis and all that stuff.
But Buffalo has gone there. They played a classic game.
Still, neither of them have been able to win.
But has Lamar even played a playoff game there? He hasn't even played a playoff game there.
No, he played
him in Baltimore.
In Baltimore,
the pressure, I feel like that would be a comfortable spot for Allen and McDermott to walk into.
We're going to be able to hopefully talk about that matchup next week.
I hope
Ravens-Bills, which is going to be an incredible matchup that I would die to watch.
God, that would be amazing.
Yeah. They both have. Honestly, my answer is a tie. If anything, sure, I'll lean Lamar just because of the postseason performance history.
But then, the team, like you mentioned, you've been there so many times. The Bills, they've been a couple of down years from the Ravens. Not down, but duds where they didn't advance, whatnot.
And talk about the coaches. Talk about Harbaugh he's won a Super Bowl before.
McDermott doesn't.
McDermott. He was on the hot seat after last season.
And you can make arguments McDermott was the reason why they lost a couple of these games to Kansas City. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Hopefully that is the case. I don't have much here on the Bills and the Broncos. This could be a closer game than you think. Obviously, the pressure's on the Bills. A rookie quarterback heading into a tough place to play in Buffalo. I think Knicks will play well. Having Sean Payton there is huge for him. So I don't know. This could be a tight game.
This to me seems like it reminds me of the Eagles when they went into Tampa in Hurts's second year, whatever that was. Brady's when Brady was with the Bucs, where you're like, all right, they're probably not going to win the game. If they compete, that'd be great. But no matter what happens, it was a very successful season, and your future you got to feel really good about your future.
Mm-hmm.
And we know what the Eagles did the next season; they went to the Super Bowl. So if I'm Broncos fans, you never want to say to a fan, hey, tamper your expectations for a playoff game, especially with them, with the playoff drought that they've had. You want to be excited for it. And it could definitely, the Broncos are a respected team. They have a very good defense. They have a good coach. They have the young quarterback and everything. But, let's not expect the Broncos to win this game here, and the future's still bright.
I don't expect them to win the game, but I think, I don't know. I'm probably going to bet them to cover the spread.
I think
probably going to cover them.
I think I'm going to take the Bills.
Really?
I don't know what the number is.
You're not a Bills guy
but
either.
if it's within 10 points, I'll probably take the Bills.
Yeah, it's within 10. I'm trying to see if Villanova won tonight. They did. They beat UConn by 2. They were favored. Wow, it's amazing.
Now, when the Johnnies beat them on Saturday, that's going to look nice for us.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you.
And the Cavs. Wow, a lot of basketball tonight. The Cavs and the Thunder
that's a great
playing.
game.
Sorry, I was checking the scores. All right, we're going to move on.
8.5 for the Bills. I'll take that.
Okay. We're going to move on to Green Bay and Philadelphia. We're about to do something. We're about to recreate something. We're about to recreate an interesting moment we had. Really?
Well, I don't know what you're going to say. I kind of want to associate with you before I hear it.
I'm going to recreate something that we did last year. The Packers have no chance in this football game. Philly is going to walk all over this Packer team. This is a blowout. They're not going to stop scoring. No, I'm kidding. That's I'm not going to go that crazy.
58-0.
But I do think this is a double-digit win for the Eagles. I'm very confident in Philly in this game.
Gun to your head, what's final score?
34-21.
Oh, my God. I was thinking 34-23. That's weird.
Look at us.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you. I wasn't sure if you were done with your explaining the trampling of the Green Bay Packers.
The one thing I'll say is there's a chance Philly starts off slow. Hurts obviously coming out of concussion protocol today. Maybe the offense starts slow.
Right.
But the confidence I have in the Eagles and them being my NFC champion is the defense.
I'm right. That's exactly what I was going to say. With the Packers, like last year, the mistake we made is we didn't take into account the great football the Packers were playing, and we didn't take into account that it was the Dallas Cowboys, also, obvious and known terrorists, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
But this time around, the Packers really haven't been playing their best ball lately. They've proven, I'll take the Bears loss out of it. It's week 18. Love got taken out in the middle of the game, everything like that. But they've proven that in their other 5 losses of the year, it's to the Eagles and then to the 2 top teams in their division, the Lions and the Vikings, aka the other top 2 teams in the NFC. So they haven't proven that they could go in a big spot and beat a team that is perceived to be better than them. And I don't see that happening here. I think that they're going to really struggle on the offensive side of the ball. Like everybody, you think Philly, you're on the road, that defense, running game with Saquon, A.J. Brown, Hurts is back. You think maybe that off? No, I'm thinking Packers offense gets suffocated by that Eagles defense. I think the pass rush is going to spell problems. It's going to overpower that Green Bay offensive line, which is a good offensive line. But combined with the secondary that the Eagles have, and I mean that every unit, Zach Bond was like the best linebacker in football this year.
Crazy out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean they're loaded on every level of the defense, and I think the Packers are going to really struggle on the offensive side of the ball.
And it's every phase of the game. It's every single spot. They have an elite player.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so talented. I think right now, as currently constructed, they're more talented than Detroit. I mean, Detroit's just so banged up on defense. I think they're more talented than that Detroit
talented
team.
On both sides of the ball. I'll give you that. They're not better though.
No, they're not better. I think they're going to beat them, but they're not better right now. No, but they're going to beat them. Spoiler: they'll be in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I'm excited for this one, though. I'm really excited for this game. You're right. It's the defense. And again, like, the defense will be well-rested. Saquon's well-rested. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And the Packers, I mean.
They're not playing well.
You can't. How can you be confident in this team right now? Like, you can't be.
No. It's going to be interesting. All right. We're good there?
I think we are good there, yes. Oh, one thing I wanted to talk.
Yeah, please.
Forgot to talk about this when we were talking about the Chargers-Texans game. I'll just throw this in there.
Yeah, please.
Between the defenses and the way the quarterbacks are playing and like every aspect of the game, it's in the Chargers' favor. But we didn't even talk about the coaches.
Yeah.
Like, you also in this situation are trusting Jim Harbaugh more than you would trust DeMeco Ryan. So that is, I'm just giving a little bit more backup to why I think that the Chargers are going to win this game by multiple possessions.
The coaching advantage in this one, I think it's LaFleur. But
yeah,
I've hated on Sirianni. I really have. But the one thing I'll say, all he does is win.
Yeah.
You want to give credit to Roseman and the drafting and this and that. Like, all he does is win, and clearly those guys love him.
But also, with LaFleur, he's been a very good, consistent coach, and he's, the Packers and what we thought when Rodgers left was going to be a little bit of an adjustment period and maybe like a retool, not necessarily a rebuild. They've made the playoffs 2 years in a row now.
I think they have the advantage.
But he's made some sketchy decisions in the playoffs over the past couple of seasons.
I would say that the Packers, if I had to pick a coach, I'd pick LaFleur.
Yeah. LaFleur gets a little weird with his play calling in the postseason.
We'll see what happens on Sunday. 4:30, Brady.
It'll be a good test for him.
Brady and Philly. Good luck. I was there.
Can't criticize.
Can't criticize.
Oh, wait. What did you say in Philly?
Brady and Philly. I said good luck.
Oh, no. Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, he can't criticize, I'm saying. He can't criticize either team. Because that thing where he's like the owner of the Raiders.
Oh, no, I was just saying good luck.
No, but I'm just saying, like, he's got to make sure, Tom, it's a playoff game. It's your first one. Just don't be criticizing.
Don't be criticizing.
That'll violate your contract.
I think he's going to be out. He'll be out in Fox within 3 years.
Yeah. Greg Olsen was on the call for Jets Dolphins.
Unbelievable.
Loved it.
He was on my guy, The Herd, today. He's great. He's amazing.
Good week for Colin Cowherd.
Great week for Colin Cowherd. I mean, come on. Is it shocking? Stand-up guy. He's my guy.
Fox, Skip Bayless is offering hairdressers over $1 million just to,
I can't believe.
Take a spin on the wheel.
What? I can't believe. You know what's funny? Like, out of the whole thing.
What?
This may get me in trouble. Like, clearly there was something wrong. Like, the hairdresser was, harassed, right? Obviously.
Yes.
That's the obvious, and that's why this all comes to light.
Yeah.
But did we not realize that Joy Taylor would just be made out to look like the way she is? Like, how does she get lumped into this? And the main story is Joy Taylor
Yeah.
slept her way through Fox.
Yeah,
Like,
why is
that's
Skip
the
Bayless
big-
saying these insane things?
Yeah.
Not the first thing that's being talked about.
It's Joy Taylor. Like, that's
Dude,
crazy.
some of the quotes are like,
Yeah.
what?
It's wild.
Insanity.
It's like, but no, I'm genuinely asking. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, there are multiple pages about Joy Taylor in here.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know. She just was like, you know what? I'm taking everybody down.
Yeah, clearly. Whatever. Skip doesn't even work for them anymore, does
Yeah.
it? Skip doesn't. Skip's done.
Yeah.
They actually replaced it with a halfway decent show. They have that guy Chase Daniel on there.
Yeah.
I have
he
never
is pretty
watched
solid.
it, but I've watched clips.
He's solid.
I've also
I
heard
never watched that crap though.
I heard the worst take of all time on Joy Taylor's show the other day.
Oh God.
It was Paul Pierce, I think.
Paul Pierce should not be speaking about sports.
I think Keyshawn Johnson and I think LaShawn McCoy.
Oh, great.
And
three scholars right there.
And one of them said that if the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, it would be the biggest disappointment in a while because they didn't let Saquon break the record. And if he would have broken the record, he would have won the MVP. And he also would have clinched him being like a Mount Rushmore running back of
so
all
that's
time.
that's what you play for now. To
I was like, what
player
did I...
legacies.
I was like, what did I just hear? I was like, what did I just listen
That's
to?
LaShawn McCoy talking because he's living through Saquon.
My God,
you know.
he's living through the Eagles all year.
Yeah,
It's
of
crazy.
Course, of course.
All right, anyway. An interesting game in Tampa Bay. We're doing good on time. We're doing pretty good on time. What are we doing? 56 minutes right now.
Oh, not bad.
We're doing good. And we only have 2 games left. The Bucs and the Commanders in Tampa Bay. This is an interesting game.
Rematch of week 1.
Rematch of week 1. Obviously, that's thrown out the window. The one thing I'll say is that I don't think enough people give like this Tampa Bay team enough credit, and a lot of these guys have a lot of postseason experience now.
Oh,
So-
okay, yeah.
This like it's for like I was like, wait, yeah, they do. They've been in the playoffs for 4 straight years. So this to me, like I like Tampa a lot in this game. I just think it'll be too much for Jaden Daniels here. And it's a high scoring game. It's close, but I like Tampa.
I've seen the opposite, actually. I've seen a lot of Bucs support. I guess we're looking through 2 different media streams or something, but I've seen a lot of people picking the Bucs for this game and saying what you're saying, and that the Bucs are an experienced team and everything like that.
Experience.
Yeah. That being said, they do have a ton of experience. This Commanders team, though, I do think when they get clicking, that they have a real way of wearing you down on the offensive side of the ball. And they're so tough to game plan for because Daniels is just so dynamic. The Lamar Jackson comparisons are out there with Daniels. Obviously, it's a bit too far out there. I think Lamar's kind of 101, but Daniels is very talented. And he poses the same way to game plan for you. It's tough. Like, how do you stop everything that he does? You really can't. So I'm not a big fan of the way that Tampa's defense has played. I'm not a big fan of the way that they've looked recently, almost dropping that game at home against the Saints. That was a scary scene for them. They're a little banged up. They just lost Whitehead in a car accident.
Wow.
He's out for the year. That sounded bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should not. They lost. How do I rephrase that?
I
think it's in the
Whitehead
past.
got injured in a car accident.
Okay,
And he's not
yes.
going to play
Yes.
the rest of the season.
Thank you. Antoine Winfield's a little banged up. Tristan Wirfs, Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, like these guys are limited in practice. Whatever, like they're a little banged up. And either way, it's going to be a high scoring game, Mike.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Baker. 41 touchdowns this year. He was unbelievable. Not enough people
can't believe that.
talking about how great he was and losing Godwin and that kid McMillan, that's his name, Jalen McMillan.
Yeah, he stepped up.
He stepped up in a big way. Obviously, Evans, a first ballot Hall of Famer wide receiver.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm excited to watch this one. Neither of these defenses impressed me. That's why it's like, all right, it's kind of like they cancel each other out.
Yeah,
Who's
this
gonna score
is
more points?
This is going to be one of those games that's the over is going to.
Solid Sunday nighter.
Very solid Sunday nighter. 2 exciting offenses to watch.
Yeah.
2 teams that don't care about, whatever, playing old school football. They're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to be creative. Baker, we know he loves to sling it.
Dan Quinn is like, you look at Dan Quinn, you look at, Harbaugh in his first year, like these coaches, like they came into spots that weren't good. Like give Quinn a ton of credit.
Yep.
12 wins, tough division. Not an easy
Most
division.
wins in franchise history.
That's crazy. First year, rookie quarterback. They're in the postseason.
You want to talk about two guys repainting their legacies of Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, guys that have bounced around, that have had head coaching jobs that they were fired from. Dan Quinn on his second. Went from D.C. with Seattle to coaching Atlanta to D.C. at Dallas, and now back. He's been going D.C. head coach D.C., which is a common theme.
Yeah, great D.C.,
and he's. This is what we're talking about, though. When we're talking about the head coaching hirings before, the Commanders, young team, young exciting quarterback, a team that had a culture issue. They bring in a guy who's looked at as a defensive coach, and then they tag along with a very smart offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Can I introduce you to the Detroit Lions as well? Like, I think that is the if there was a formula that I would prefer if I was a team, that's the one I would go with.
Yeah.
A guy that sets the culture, sets the building right, can, assess the defensive side of the ball, and then you bring in the exciting offensive mind.
Jay, let's move over to the last game, the Monday Nighter.
Yes.
The best game of the postseason, in my opinion, first round. The best game.
I this is going to sound weird. I'm not as excited for this game as I thought I would be.
I think I'm going to get you.
It's because we've seen it before.
I think I'm going to get you excited for this game.
Okay.
We talked about before, like, who's there more pressure on in, the playoffs, right? And we said Allen, Jackson, right? Who's got the most? Anybody have more pressure on him than Sam Darnold?
Yeah, come on.
Can I ask you why you're saying come on? Sam Darnold has the opportunity to pull a Daniel Jones here. Sam Darnold plays well in this game.
Yeah.
Right? Plays well in this game, they win. No doubt they're going to lock him up for a few years. But after that terrible performance in Detroit last week, I think there's some questions. And if he has a dud in L.A., they're going to sit there and evaluate themselves and say, probably a product of a great system and this is me being hypocritical talking about how much I love Darnold, but I'm just going to be thinking of what the Vikings are going to have to think of.
Yeah.
Because these are the decisions they're going to have to make. I think Darnold's legit. I would give him a chance. But this is what they're going to be thinking of.
You make a strong case. I will say you make a very strong case. And yes, I agree that he does have a lot of pressure on him, especially after that performance on Sunday night. Going 18 for 41 in a game that was for your division, that was for the number one seed. That in a game that was technically the most winning game of all time in terms of records between teams. Yeah, that's not exactly how you want to have your season remembered. So there is pressure on him. For this Vikings team as a whole, obviously this was a very successful season for them. We didn't expect them to be in this spot at all. That being said, they are here. And yeah, you're right. In terms of personal pressure. So let's do that. Let's rank it like that. Team pressure, it's not the Vikings. I would say it's Baltimore or the Bills.
I think the team pressure, Bills.
I think it's the Bills as well. Yeah. Team pressure is the Bills. Personal pressure, Sam Darnold. Darnold. It's just so close with Lamar, too.
Those two. It's those two.
Because Lamar doesn't have anything to play for, but, he's about to win he better win his third MVP.
He's not, by the way, and I flipped. I think it should be Lamar. It's not going to be Lamar.
I can't believe
it's going to be Allen.
Allen's getting an MVP. He's getting an MVP. Really?
Yeah. But I'll say this: Lamar shouldn't have won it last year, and Allen actually probably should have won it.
For that now?
Yeah, a little bit.
What are we going to every year just give it to the guy that shouldn't have won it?
We're going to make the mistake. We're going to fix the mistake.
MVP. Oh my God!
It's like minus 500.
Minus 470.
Yeah, there we
FanDuel.
go. There we go.
Why?
My guy, Josh.
Literally, why?
My guy, Josh.
119.6 passer rating doesn't get you an MVP these days. I'm sick to my stomach.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the game itself,
I'm pumped.
This
is a close game.
It will be a close game, but this Vikings team's got no excuse. They got no excuse. The one excuse you could throw out there is there's two of them. They're more experienced, the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, you're on the road. But I'm going to take that number two out because it's L.A.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll probably be a lot of Vikings fans there. And also there's a possibility with all these fires going on that they don't even play the game there. They might play in Phoenix.
Oh, my God.
Which would be nuts. But then I literally thought that today on, making light of that situation. I was like, well, It's not like the Rams, they played a neutral side anyways,
Yeah.
so, what do they really care? But they got no other excuse besides the experience. Even coaching. Like KOC has shown that he's a very good coach in this league.
Most intriguing coaching matchup of the first round here.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
Because
Same tree.
Same tree. He learned under
Yep.
McVay.
Yep.
Fascinating stuff there. How about this? Maybe you can help me out. So I'm all over the Vikings. I love Sam Darnold. I want Sam Darnold to succeed.
Me too.
Okay? I'm a fan. And I like the Vikings. I like KOC. I like what they got going.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to win the game. That's my heart. My brain is telling me to put irresponsible money on the Rams to win this game because I think the Rams are going to win.
I don't trust the Rams, man.
I
They
think
just
the Rams are gonna win.
they don't got it. I personally don't think.
I think they have it offensively.
Defense. I don't know. Cup has been really bad recently. Nakua obviously is great, but you take him away.
Can you take him away? Is it possible to take
no,
him
it's
away?
Not, but you try to limit him. You don't even need to take. How about the other side of the ball? I got Justin Jefferson. Like, you don't need to take him away. But I don't think that they have enough aspects on offense that, enough angles they could hit you from. Pause.
What?
Pause.
Oh, my God.
But I don't think that offense has got it to, I don't know. I lost my train of thought after that pause.
What the hell, dude?
That was bad. My bad on that, guys.
Clip that up, please. Yeah, that's my dilemma right now.
Yeah.
But I like the Vikings. I'm all over what they've done this year, but I don't know.
I'm itching. I'm itching to make my predictions here.
All right,
I got my bracket in front of me.
We're gonna get to it. I gotta actually do it mentally. So we reseed in the NFL, right? It's probably a really bad question to ask.
We do not.
We don't reseed.
You don't reseed. It's bracket style.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
You go first. You give me everything.
All right. So you just want me to go down the list?
Go down the list.
First round, go down the list. All right. Wild card round. I have the Chargers beating the Texans by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In Houston, advancing, I have the Bills also by a decent margin beating the Denver Broncos. And then I have the Baltimore Ravens in maybe a closer matchup beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. So
I think we reseed, Mike.
We do not reseed, Mike. I'm looking at it.
We don't reseed?
I don't believe so.
No, we do, because that's just the way the bracket looks.
All right, sure. Why don't you just put it in your thing?
We reseed. I can't click here.
Go on the playoff predictor website, bro.
Okay.
This is
Where's the
making
playoff?
us look bad right now. Look up NFL schedule predictor. It's like the same website we use for the preseason prediction.
Oh, I used that one.
So use it. All right. NFC. Another upset. I got the Commanders beating the Buccaneers in Tampa. I have the Eagles beating the Packers at home, and then another road team. So I got 3 road teams winning in the wild card round. I have the Vikings beating the Rams in LA or in Phoenix.
Interesting.
There we go. As Mike tries to
There we go.
quickly make his playoff picks here. I love just
fun.
putting the people on standby. This is great. This is nice.
All right, Mike. I have it. What was your Super Bowl?
I didn't say my Super Bowl yet. I just said my wild card.
Oh, wild card. Perfect. All right, my wild card. I have the Bills. I think we have the same one. Bills. No, we don't. Bills over Broncos. Ravens over Steelers.
Yep.
And the Chargers beating the Texans. A little closer than Mike thinks, but they'll beat them. Eagles in a rout. Tampa in a high-scoring game. And the Rams beating the Vikings.
Wow. All right, so NFC side looks different.
Yep.
You got all the favorites in the NFC in
Yep.
terms of seeding.
Yeah.
I don't think the Vikings are underdogs, but
No, the Vikings are faves.
yeah. Faves, nice. Okay, next round, Mike. Divisional. Chiefs, Chargers. I got the Chiefs advancing the AFC Championship game in a close game. Ravens, Bills. I got Lamar winning that matchup, advancing the AFC Championship game on the road there. Other side of the bracket, Lions, Commanders. Could be a nice matchup, pregame, and then they actually go on the field, and the Commanders get their breaks beat off of them. Lions win that game, and then Eagles, Vikings, a rematch of the Case Keenum days.
Yeah.
Case Keenum versus Nick Foles. Wasn't that Case Keenum, Nick Foles, Blake Bortles, and Tom Brady in the Final Four? That was a hell of a quarterback matchups. And I have the Eagles winning that game and advancing to the NFC Championship.
There we go. All right, Jay, on the AFC side, the Chiefs in a real close one against the Chargers. I mean, game-winning field goal by a handful.
Typical Chiefs win.
Yeah, real tight.
Pause.
And the Bills beating the fraud Ravens once again. I will not pick them to move forward any more than this. The Ravens, they broke my heart last year big time. I had big money on them. All right, the NFC side. How about Stafford going back to Detroit and upsetting Detroit?
Sake.
How about that?
What are you talking
How about the
bro?
Rams upsetting the Lions?
You with this freaking hard on for the Rams. You always have it, man.
And the Eagles beating the Buccaneers.
Okay, good. What are you on?
I don't want to have 1-2
You really
in here.
think the Lions are going to lose at home to the Rams?
Two toughest games the Lions have played at home besides the Week 2 loss to the Buccaneers this year are the
When was the Rams game? Week 1.
Without Puka Nacua, they almost won that game.
Week 1. We're taking Week 1 into account now.
They almost won that game.
Week 1, yep. Mm-hmm.
They almost won that game.
Yep.
And then last year's playoff game, that was a tight one. That was a tight one, too.
In that game that you're talking about, the Jets were favorites to win their division, by the way. The Jets' current odds were favorites to win their division.
The Lions are
That's
worse.
how long ago
the Lions are a worse team right now than they are Week 1. Their defense
They're still
is
a phenomenal
depleted.
team, and that's
Their
not
defense
true.
is
That is not
depleted.
true. That is not true. They just beat the brakes off of your beloved Minnesota Vikings last weekend, 31-9.
And I'm not happy about
Jahmyr
that.
Gibbs made the Vikings defense's little, sex toy, and you think that they're going to lose that game.
I think there's a chance the Rams with Matt Stafford, my guy, could win that game.
Okay, Mike.
Coaching advantage. The coaching advantage is like a college coach and an NFC coach, and a high school coach.
With the Dan Campbell slant. I can't stand it. Also, you're talking about that when they have Aaron Glenn, who you love as their
Aaron
DC.
Glenn. I do like Aaron Glenn.
And you have Ben Johnson, who is viewed as like the brightest offensive mind in freaking football, that are calling the plays. So what are you worried about? That Dan Campbell's going to make a risky 4th down? Go for it? Maybe in the second quarter, because that's the only time that game would be freaking close.
That's actually exactly what I'm worried about. Yes, thank you for proving my point. Okay.
All right, you enjoy that.
The AFC Championship game. Mike, you have Ravens Chiefs.
Yeah, I got the Baltimore MF and Ravens advancing to the
By
Super
the way,
Bowl and winning in Arrowhead.
That is arguably more crazy.
No, it's not.
That is probably statistically more crazy than the Rams beating the Lions in Detroit.
If this is in a clip or if it's on our YouTube, I want people to comment what is more insane. The Rams going into Detroit and winning that game after the Lions rested for a week, or the Ravens going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs.
Statistically, that is that doesn't happen.
It's not the Ravens. Get the past games out of your head.
I can't.
We live in the now, okay? We're looking at football teams that are matching up against each other and the situations they're in. I don't give a crap what the Rams did last year in the postseason, keeping it close, or in week 1. They are not going into Detroit. They're not even going to get to Detroit.
They're getting to Detroit, all right.
Okay.
Now I'm fully locked in on the Rams. I have to be.
Okay.
I'm fully locked in on the Rams here.
Die on that hill, please. And then in the NFC, I have the Lions and the Eagles, and I have the Detroit Lions advancing to the Super Bowl.
You do realize, though, that is, equally crazy, right? The Chiefs
That
do
is
not lose at
crazy.
home. The Chiefs do not lose at home. They're the modern-day New England Patriots, and you have a team that consistently fails in the postseason, going into Arrowhead and winning the game.
You are betting on the 48-year-old Los Angeles Rams with Cooper Kupp, who has become a stalk blocker for Puka Nacua. You are relying on them to go into Detroit, who has the most proficient offense, besides the Baltimore Ravens actually have a better offense, advanced stats-wise, into Detroit, home, rest, a crazy fan base, a starving fan base, a team that plays on a neutral site at their home games, and you have them winning that game.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And I think it is less crazy. And I think it is less crazy than the Ravens going to Arrowhead and winning.
It's not. If I had
the Rams have a Super Bowl.
If this was a real matchup, I would
success.
take alternate spread Lions minus 15.5.
No, you wouldn't. No,
Yes,
you
I would.
wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
I'm actually rooting for the Rams now. I hope the Rams beat the crap out of the Vikings so this matchup can happen.
Are you serious? All the Ravens have done is fail in the postseason, and they're going to be the ones that beat the Chiefs.
So what? The Rams won the Super Bowl. The Rams won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. So that's what you're relying on.
Well, they've had postseason success. They have a track record.
They lost to the Lions last year
in a really tight
Detroit.
Game.
The Rams are worse than they were last year, and the Lions are better than they were last year.
Well, we're just gonna have to see if that potential matchup happens. Okay, and my AFC Championship game is the Bills and the Chiefs. And as much as I love the Buffalo Bills, and as much as I love Josh Allen, they are not going to go to Kansas City and win. The Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl against the Eagles.
Okay. Nice.
Super Bowl.
So your Super Bowl is Chiefs-Eagles.
Yes.
A rematch of 2 years ago.
Yes.
Boring. Okay. I have a refreshing, great Super Bowl.
I have a realistic Super Bowl. Okay. You have Fantasyland Ravens in the Super Bowl.
This is also realistic. I have the Baltimore Ravens and the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. And your 2025 Super Bowl 60?
No.
59.
You think it would be a little
59.
bit more?
Shut up. Super Bowl 59, which, by the way, I'm not looking forward to the halftime show, Kendrick Lamar. We couldn't have got somebody better. If it was a couple years ago when, like, the Damn album came out, I'd be cool with that. But now, I don't like the new Kendrick, whatever. Anyways, Super Bowl 59, Ravens, Lions, your Super Bowl 59 champions, the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar finally gets it done, and they win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
All the haters get put to bed. He has one of the greatest seasons ever. Joel Embiid MVP goes to Josh Allen. And Lamar says, revenge season, I'm going to go win the Super Bowl. And it's cinematic. And it's sick.
It's fun. Fantasyland is great. You know what I mean? Like Fantasy Candyland. You used to play the game Candyland when I was a kid. Yeah, Fantasyland is great. But we live in the real world, okay? And you know what the real world is?
The Detroit Lions beating the living shit out of the Rams at home. That's what the real world is.
Philadelphia sports fans thinking they're more than they are and them getting their hearts broken by the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl once again. The Chiefs, three straight Super Bowl champions. That's what happens. The Chiefs win the Super Bowl. And that's
yawn.
Yeah, yawn all you want. Yawn all you want.
Terrible prediction.
I had a couple upsets in there. I had this. I got that.
I like it, though, because this playoff bracket is going to go down as one of the worst of all time. Yours, personally. So I'm looking, ever since that Rams pick. So you cursed the rest of your bracket. So I'm actually optimistic now that you're going to be so wrong and the Chiefs aren't going to make it.
How do I screenshot on the Mac?
Command-Shift 5, I think.
It's Command-Shift 3. Oh, no, it's Command-Shift 3. Okay, I screenshotted my bracket. That's a perfect bracket.
Mike, that's a great job. Even though you're a jackass, yeah.
A little rage bait. I love a little rage bait. All right, JM. I think that's going to do it. Hour 17 minutes here. If you're still with us, we really appreciate it.
Hope you stay till the end.
Yeah, this was fun. Maybe we'll just clip up that whole 3 minutes and put it on YouTube for later.
Yeah. Two idiots yell at each other. Their predictions.
I love the Rams. I really do. Hope they're wearing their nice jerseys.
You are this guy. You keep your hands where I can see him when you're talking about the Rams. Wow. This guy. Wow. Holy crap.
All right. That'll do it. Next week, so much to talk about. We'll recap all of this. Maybe we'll have some coaching hirings. If not, we'll definitely talk about the potential fits as we get into next week. And yeah, anything else you got to say here, Mike?
Nope. You're going to be very wrong, Mike.
All right.
Go Rams this weekend.
Go Rams. We'll talk to you guys next week.